Welcome back to another video. This will be a follow-up for my previous video regarding triangle into quads into Blender with no plugins. Now we're gonna check some plugins that can do the remeshing. So as you can see over here, I received the following comment 3 hours ago regarding the video with plugins. So I will make use of the same model over here. So I will import that Foxcal over here. So I'll go to import. This will be in a OBJ file format. I will go to downloads, Foxcal OBJ, and this will be the file. I have the possibility to scale it over here directly, but I will just hit import. We see that the scale is quite large, so I will press S 0.01, and this will be the scaled model. I will delete the default cube. I can also smooth this. As you can see, we currently have a material with a lot of highlights on the surface. But let's see, regarding the mesh. Within the previous video, I will also duplicate this. So I will move this on the y-axis over here. And within the previous video, we checked how we can convert this triangle mesh into a quads. So if I will press tab to go into edit mode, this will automatically enable the wireframe. If you want to visualize the wireframe outside, you can always go over here and you can check the geometry, and this will overlap into the other viewport. Now if I press A, this will select everything, and the hotkey will be Alt+J. We can also find it over here. It will be triangle to quads, Alt+J. As we can see, Blender will process the mesh, but we're still going to have a high amount of triangles over here that we can further join. So for example, those two triangles over here, I can select those, Alt+J, but this will take quite a lot of work, but we can do that remeshing with no plugins. Now, let's see how we can work with some plugins. I've added over here the link to Instant Mesh. So this will not be directly within Blender, but this will be available for free. This is the main advantage. There are other assets that can be added directly within Blender. As you can see over here, if I will search remesh on Blender Market, there will be a lot of tools that will create this. So some of them are well known, as this one over here. But let's take a look at why Instant Mesh can do that job. So you can download it over here, depending on your operating system, so either Microsoft, Mac, or Linux. And the program will look like this. So this will be for Windows. As we can see, the application is quite small, 3 megabytes. I will run Instant Mesh. I will open this. And over here, we need to add the mesh. So the same mesh that I added into Blender, I will go over here, open. We can import Ply or OBJ. And this will be, as you can see, the Foxcal. The model will be loaded. We're gonna see the compiler running over here in the background. If you want to, we can make this full screen. And the remesh option can be changed over here. So we can either go with triangles or quads. I will choose the last one. So this will be the remesh option. We can also choose to keep the sharp creases or have the model aligned to the boundary. We can also change the number of target vertex count over here. For example, if I want the mesh to be either more low poly, I can increase this. So currently this will only have 2.6K vertex. But if I want a mesh with a lot of geometry, I can also increase that. And as you can see, the input has insufficient resolution to generate a mesh with the selected vertex count. Therefore, the software will do a subdivide over here. And if I want to, I can click yes, and this will subdivide the existing mesh in order to go for that target count. I will click no for now, and we're gonna see that by default, the remesh vertex count will be set to this value. We can afterward hit solve, and this will solve the mesh. we have some singularities over here, but we can also solve the position field on the mesh. So if I will click solve over here, we're gonna see how that how those quads will be formed over here. Now if I will go to export, I can also check this to a pure quad mesh. If I will extract the mesh, I have the possibility now to save this. Let's say instant mesh. I will name this one. I also need to specify the file format, so I need to type in .obj. Even though I have it over here selected, I will also add that. And we're gonna have that mesh, that remesh 3D model. So go to File, Import, OBJ, and this will be the instant mesh. As we can see, this will be only 9.6 megabytes. Again, we have the scaling issue, so scale 0.01. This will be that remesh skull. As we can see, it will perfectly overlap the original model. Since this has been a 3D scan, it hasn't been aligned. So we can do that before we're gonna proceed with the remeshing. If I will shade this to smooth, we're gonna see that difference. And if I will also enable wireframe, we're gonna see how the mesh will look. Now, there are some instances where we still have some shapes that resemble triangles over here, but actually those, as we can see, will be quads. So we have, for example, over here, if I will select this, I will press tab, go to edge. We have one edge over here, one edge over there. So we still have those 4 edges that define a surface, so they will not be a triangulated mesh. That is the main difference from the previous one. Even though over here we activated that default triangle to quads, Alt+J, that will join triangles into quads, we're gonna see that, for example, over here, we're still gonna have a triangle. So we need to join that together with a different one, and it will still not be a perfect quad mesh. So over here, using instant mesh, if you're gonna go for pure quad mesh, this will solve that. Now, if you want to go and have this finer, we can always subdivide it forward into Blender. So I have the possibility to go on my remesh model over here, and I can press Ctrl 2. This will apply a modifier, a subdivide modifier. Let's see, Blender should now start adding that. We have the subdivision over here, and I can increase it, for example, to level 3. If I will also enable the stats over here, so we see the statistics, we see the total number of faces that we currently have. If I will go even to level 4, we're gonna see over here the total number of faces will increase quite by a lot. I'm also now on my older PC, and as we can see, this mesh will be quite dense. So Blender is currently entering a not responding state. So keep that in mind if you want to go into finer details. But we see that it managed to process that. If I will apply this, we're going to have the total number of faces over here set to 22 millions. I will hit apply. And we're going to see how that remesh will look. So you can also do this into Blender with a subdivision. But you can also process it over here with the instant mesh. You can increase the triangle count, but instant mesh will do something similar. So it will do its own subdivide over here, as we can see, to enable that fine resolution. I will click yes. This will again start to process, and afterwards we can have that exported. So currently Blender is still struggling to apply that, but now it managed to apply it. We also see that the model will now be quite, it will look like this, full orange, but if I will zoom in, we're gonna see that we actually have that quad mesh over there, but since I set it to such a high value, we're gonna have a total number of 22 million faces, but all of those will be quads. So we see if I will zoom in into that mesh, we're gonna have a nice even quadded mesh that we can later work within the sculpting environment. But again, I highly recommend that you won't go for so finer details depending on your hardware specifications. So currently on this computer, it's not recommended to work with such high polygonal meshes. So if I will jump back over here, we're gonna see this. I will solve it to define the orientation field. And afterwards, I can also do the positioning field. And if I will extract the mesh, again as pure quads, extract mesh, I will call this instant mesh 2. I will not select the file format over here, so just obj. And as you can see, if I will hit save, it will say that write mesh unknown file extension. So keep that in mind, just like I said previously, we have to type in that file format. So .obj, and afterwards hit save. This will start saving that file. And if I will go over there within the folder, which will be this one, we're gonna have the remesh model over here. So instant mesh 2 will be 9.5 megabytes, and the original one will be this one. So as you can see, in this case, it will be the same size. This is okay. It's a little bit weird that it's the same size since I increased that vertex count, but I usually prefer to do it over here within Blender, just like I showed you over here previously. Okay, so I hope that you find this video useful. You can also consider to use some Blender assets. The main advantage is that this will work directly within Blender, so you will no longer have to transfer the mesh outside to a different software. Okay, if you enjoy this kind of content, let me know in the comment section. So that's it. Thanks for watching.